Good day. I am going to give you a small lecture in English about reading. The past few lessons which I did in Sinhala dealt with ways to recognize words. We talked about suffixes, prefixes in a way in which people could guess what a particular word is. And today I want to talk about the importance of guessing when you approach a text in a language you are not too familiar with. One of the biggest problems that English learners have, or I have heard them say, is that they do not read, or they do not like to read, or they cannot read simply because they do not know enough words, because their vocabulary is not very strong. Now, what I want to do today is see ways in which we can approach this problem. Now, even when I read, especially with my postgraduate work, there is no way I will know the meaning of all the words. I actually don't. Now, at the level I am reading, when I don't, what I do is I look at a dictionary, and again the age of going into the book, the physical dictionary is, I think it's gone. One thing, the old dictionaries do not have the words which keep changing. It's very simple now. All you do is, if you have a computer or if you have a phone, just type the word and type meaning and you get the meaning, right? So that's at a level in which you are looking for the meaning of difficult words. I mean, words which are not very common. But there's something else you can do, and this is something you can teach your students for whom many words will be difficult. Before you actually go to a dictionary, there is something called guessing. You can guess what the word means, and that is made possible simply because all words come within a context. You do not get words floating out there for which you have to remember the meaning. There are exams like SAT, where you have like huge books where you have to memorize words, but actually what they are checking is not really whether you know the meaning of these words. They are, but what they are actually checking behind that is how much you read. Because depending on your level of reading, there are some words which would have become quite obvious to you, right? So when I actually give you a vocabulary test, through your marks I can guess where your reading is at. Because at every level there will be words which are very basic at the basic level and higher at the higher levels. And by checking your word knowledge, I can probably guess where you are situated. So how do we guess? How do we guess intelligently? First of all, you have to remember that you bring in the knowledge of the world into any text within your own language system. So, for example, if you are a Sinhala speaker or a Tamil speaker, you are already a very mature adult with knowledge of the world, with a superb, range of general knowledge, and you are now approaching a text for which all this, your background knowledge, schemata, anything can be now activated. How do we activate it? The first thing in a text is, very often you will have a title. The title will tell you what the context of the words are below that. For example, if it's about cake making, some unknown name could be an ingredient, could be a spice, could be a flavor. You can guess it, right? Of course, if it's a real recipe, don't guess, check out. But what I am saying is general reading, like say you are reading a newspaper. Very, very rarely would you stop and look at a dictionary. You are reading it casually. So use a title. If it's a newspaper, so much the easier, because you're in a country, you would probably know what's in the headlines before it comes out, because you're within a social context. Use pictures. If it's a newspaper, they will have a picture. So, if it's a picture of a fight or a riot or a protest, you would probably know all the words next to it is connected to that. So that your guess will have a bigger chance of being correct. Use that knowledge. The picture is one, the title is one, and if you come to the paragraph level, all of you know there is a topic sentence. Paragraphs have one main idea. So, if the first sentence say many people were injured in the riot, right, and you're not sure about injured or you're not sure about the riot, the guess, if you see a picture of a fight, you know then the riot is probably that. So, injured can't be anything good, no, nothing good comes out of a fight. So, you might know, okay, something bad, 40 people were injured, something happened to 40 people. It can't be anything good, right? That's enough. You don't really have to know when you are reading generally, not when you are reading as a doctor or a scientist. When you are reading generally, it's enough to know something bad happened to 40 people, whether it was injured, whether it was traumatized. If you are reading generally, it really doesn't matter, because your guess, even 75%, will give you the whole meaning. Okay? So, learn the art of guessing when you read. And when you read, please try not to stop at every time you have an unknown word. Keep going. If you have a difficult word, jump over it, keep reading. Read the same few sentences at least 3 times before you stop. Because what happens now is every time you find a difficult word, you stop. You don't go to see whether there is any other word you know, because you have already got scared and you braked. But if you just go over the ruts, if you go over the bumps till you find another easy word and you keep going over the bumps and you come back, your journey is gradually going to be easier, because your guessing is now activated, your schemata, your background knowledge is activated, and your guess might be correct. So, trust in your guessing. Unless you are a doctor or a scientist where you know it's life and death, you can't guess wrong there. In general reading, I am talking more about humanities of reading novels, just getting into the language. Do not let a word you don't know build a wall. Just go through it, so that the wall also slowly dissolves through the power of your guessing and your trust in it. Okay? So, another thing I want to tell you, like I keep saying, it's okay to use wrong English when you are learning. This is not to say that you should stop before you go to the highest level possible. If you are a learner, please use English even with mistakes. Even if people laugh, that is your right, and in fact that is the only way you will learn. But you also have a responsibility to keep trying to improve yourself. Reading is one of the most powerful ways, because it's a very private thing, it's not a public thing. Speaking is public, reading isn't. So, you can read, only you know where you will find difficulties, and you work through them. You read it 3 times, you read it 5 times. You might say, where do I find the text? A library would be wonderful, but now in the age of internet, you really don't need anything but your phone or your computer. Type easy reading text, you'll get level 1, elementary. Type anything you want, it's a private thing that you're doing, but do it. Get your students to actually do it, because unless you work and work without giving up, even if the journey is hard, none of this is easy. But if you can teach your students to do it, and if you are a student listening, do not stop, do not give up. For a month, 3 months, 1 year, 10 years, 20, 40, I am still learning, right? Keep learning, because you can only go above. So, as much as I say it's okay to use wrong English, I would also say, if you are doing that, please make sure you keep moving forward. It doesn't matter if it's 1 inch, 1 mile, 10 miles. So long as the direction is there, keep going. So, that's my advice to adults. Read as much as you can. I used to tell my campus university students, you always get an English newspaper to the hostels. People might laugh at you, you get called various names for doing weird stuff, but read it every day. On the first day, you might understand just 4 words. Keep looking. Second week, you might understand 10. So, by the end of 4 years, your rough guess would at least be 50-60% correct of looking at a newspaper and knowing what the news is, of guessing and not stopping and not letting the text make your mind a blank. That can happen. If you are so scared and you think I don't know words, now in my last programs I taught you ways of identifying words, use it. Because unless you use it, unless you use what I am saying, this knowledge is going to be useless. It won't make a difference. What you have learned, put into practice. And reading, keep practicing. Reading is a matter of practice. We forget that, but it is. Do that and your reading should improve. And as you go, if you can find graded readers, in our campus we have a whole room dedicated to English learners where we have graded readers, where you have like great expectations at the original novel, and then at level 1 a very basic English writing the same story. Everything is there. If you have a library, and if any librarian is listening to me, try and get easy readers, because now the second part of this talk is it's very easy to teach children to read. Now, one thing that the Western world has, which we don't have because the Western world is richer, is the ability to produce super books, superbly attractive books for kids. I brought a few here because I wanted to show it to you. You know how beautiful these people make their books. Very, very simple English, beautifully illustrated. And they also, because it's for a child, they also put some moral in it. A hug goes around. So this story is actually about a child getting up and going through the day, and somebody hugs her at some point. Even if they make mistakes, if they are scared, people hug them and they are very, very happy at the end of it. Very attractive for children. And look at, I mean, if a child sees the picture at the beginning, he is not going to know words. But this is enough for him to turn the page, because it's such a attractively done book. So what they will do is, they are going to turn pages and eventually they are going to look at these letters. So that the attraction happens visually first. So, I mean, when we produce books in, if a publisher is listening to me, I mean, to have hardcover and art paper, I realize the book will be about 3,000, 4,000 rupees, which is then going to be useless because most of us can't afford it. But you can probably, if you have the idea, use it with lesser quality paper or even a soft cover. And if a librarian is listening to me, please get the Ladybirds, you know, these children's books which are available if you order. Very often I wanted to show you another book where, okay, that was children's paintings, but you could also have very professionally, like, you know, adult paintings which are very attractive. This is like beautiful paintings, and you can actually get a child to appreciate good art. Text is very small. Probably his eye will be caught here, where he will appreciate good art as well. And this story, for example, like cartoonish, families have together. The English is also weird, but what they are saying is, what families have mostly is that they work together. So they also get some moral put in there, where you work together, you work as a team, you help each other and all that. Get these books if you are a librarian, if you can, to whatever, I know that places in Sri Lanka have village libraries, maybe not each village, but there are, because I have spoken to a librarian group, and even then I said, try and get easy readers if you can, if you are allocated money. There are official readers as well, where, you know, they get a whole collection of lovely stories where it's attractive for the child even without looking at the pictures to read it. And even religion can be taught. Zen ties, I mean, I don't think this is serious Buddhism, but you know about Zen Buddhism. This panda is a Zen master, and you know how you could help old people, and the beauty is not just help old people, how old people can help you. The boy wins a contest because this grandmother helps him. So much can be done with books, right? There is such power in books. Not only will you get English input for a child, you will also probably improve his personality, his or her personality, by the books that you give him. Having said that, so be very careful, because of the ideology that any book carries. Every book is political, there is no neutral book. Be careful what you also give it to the hands of your child. Even if the parents do not know English, if you can give a book in English for a child, written for a child, to your child, he will learn. Do not worry, it is a journey he or she will take on his own, but be careful of the ideology. For example, if you take Tarzan, Tarzan is a children's story. Because it's written by a white person or a brown person feeling like a white person, we very often forget that when Tarzan hits a savage, we are always on the side of Tarzan, no? But historically we are actually the savages he is hitting. So be careful of things like that. So we generally forget that when we read Western literature, we go to their point of view and look back at us. So that is a very post-colonial way of thinking, which you really do not have to worry too much when it is a child. But if you are a parent and if you are a teacher, when you give books to a child, also give a little hint that this is written by somebody who is not us, therefore his ideas might not quite be something you agree with when you are an adult. Say it, it is always safer to say it, because very often we forget that even when I say Sesame Street or something, there is an ideology that comes with it. So this appeal is to librarians. If you are in charge of getting books, please try and get Easy Readers, Ladybird Books, First Readers to your village library, and if you can get your students who will become parents to bring their kids and come, do so. The second appeal I want to make, in which I think you can help, is for people in charge of television programs, because television is one thing that reaches everyone, and if you can actually get down, I am especially appealing to the state TV and all that, if you can get down programs like Sesame Street, where I actually like when they say PUT and then put it comes together and put, these do help. And if you can get your students to tell their parents to put the TV on at that time, all village children will have a chance of at least listening to and knowing how words come together in a strange language. And I always find it a great pity that cartoons are dubbed in Sinhala, maybe they are in Tamil as well, because that is taking away a super chance for a little child to hear English. It is not difficult to guess the storyline of cartoons, it is not complicated. So if they could follow the pictures and listen to English, they would have been absorbing language since very little. And I think it is a great pity that we decide to dub cartoons in Sinhala or Tamil, because that is to take away a good chance where a child could have followed the story and the language. And then if you are a bit adult, a Sinhala dubbing is okay so long as the English also goes as a subtitle where they will quickly try to read. Anyway, a Sinhala film in a English subtitle is a good chance for a child or an adult to follow. So I often feel that very often we have the resources in this country. For example, we have television channels, we have the ability to bring in good programs. I am pretty sure we are spending a lot in getting most of the trash that is coming in, but we can get educational programs like Sesame Street, which is fun, and there were so many cartoons. If you take PBS, there were things like Alphabet Soup and so many Martha, the talking dog, they through the cartoon they teach how English words come together. PBS does it. You can actually, I do not know how expensive they are, but it is possible to get it because we have the TV and the TV is already spread out all over this country. So there are methods in which we can teach reading to children, beautiful books like that, and if a publisher is listening to me, I hope more Sri Lankan context stories can be written in English and given to kids, because if your ultimate aim is to improve the language of this country, one of the best ways is through teaching them how to read, because that is to give a key to a different universe. That is to give a key to knowledge, and that's an incredible gift to give. So, if you are learning and if you are a teacher and if you are listening to this, whatever you do, if you can instill a love of reading in your student, you have given that student the greatest gift you could ever give. Because now if she is unafraid, if she is willing to do the hard work, if she is willing to learn and keep at it even if it's difficult, there's an enormously wonderful journey, like a wondrous journey he or she is going to set out on. So please, if you are a student, start today. Don't let the hard work deter you. And if you are a TV, in charge of producing programs or getting them down, please get good English teaching programs down here, cartoons for children, not adults. If you are a librarian, try to get easy readers, and if you are a student, the internet gives you access to all this without anybody's help. Access it. The hard work is within you, right? And please do start on this terribly, terribly beautiful journey of reading. Thank you.